such a time as this.
And welcome back to For Such a Time as This, the place where there is no such thing as a silent witness. Have a special guest today, Stephanie Trussell. I would introduce her, but the introduction is too long and I might get it mixed up. So Stephanie, explain to people, our audience, it's been a while since we've met. Explain to people your credentials.
Well, born as a Democrat because I was born in Chicago, and when you're born, they slap your butt and put a D on your, what are we going to do? So they put a D on me as soon as they slapped my bottom, and then I found talk radio in about 1993, bought a car with no FM radio and started listening. I thought everybody on that station was crazy, but they were entertaining. And then one day I realized what they were saying made sense. They were all right of center. And then I fortunately moved to the suburbs, moved to DuPage County, where I joked that they put something in your water to make you turn Republican. Then I just went from this quiet, uninformed Democrat to this loud mouth, I'm going to tell everybody I'm a Republican. And in 2012, I won a radio contest that was just supposed to be one show, and that was it. And I was on the station for 7 years, doing a show, taking on callers by myself once a week, just having a lot of fun. And so last spring, I got to work on a campaign for a congressional candidate. Unfortunately, didn't win, but I learned a lot. That was my first time working on a campaign. Met some amazing people and learned all about knocking on doors and people yelling at you. One lady came at me, and I was just like, my son had given me some mace, and I had it in my trunk. That doesn't help. Yeah, but when she pushed her husband back into the door, and she came at me trying to question me about Trump, and I wasn't even there campaigning for Trump. I was campaigning for my candidate. So I met some very interesting people, during that time. So right now, I'm my son is hybrid learning. So half the time I'm a school marm telling him to sit up and turn on his camera and get your head off the desk. And so that's what keeps me busy right now. And I babysit my granddaughter 3 days a week. So, I'm still having fun. Can't just unplug, still paying attention, still watching what's happening in our this wonderful country.
And that's your credentials as it comes to a political commentator. Also, at the bases, the top right side, you are a believer.
Oh, yeah, certainly a Christian conservative. And that's what people say. Yeah. I remember when I confessed my love and outward sign and got baptized. But I just wish that I could remember the day I realized I wasn't a Democrat anymore. But the more deeper you get into your faith, and you realize, for me, it was harder to connect with that other side. This just made sense. And so, I'm certainly, don't tell anybody, because I know being a Christian, my pastor said the other day, they used to respect Christians, but that time has come and since gone. Now they just target us, forget you're a Christian, that must mean you're a hater. And by definition, we trying to be like Christ, so we love everybody. And it's just, that's what we're called to do.
Yeah. And I remember as I was growing in my faith, I recognized that African Americans, that group is so incredibly politically, I'm talking about blacks that are believers, that go to church. They're politically schizophrenic.
Thank you.
Because what they say they believe on Sunday, they go into the booth on Tuesday and vote the exact opposite. And as I grew in my faith, I found I could no longer support candidates who pushed policies that Sodom and Gomorrah would have been proud of. So I myself had to switch over.
What do you mean go to church on Sunday? They go to Bible study on Wednesday, then on Tuesday at choir practice. On Sunday they're at church all day. Preaching, unapologetic.
And forget everything they read in the Bible and vote the exact opposite on Tuesday. But anyway,
and somebody I love and I have known my whole life yelled at me yesterday and said, "You're not a Christian because you voted for Trump." And I said, so, I'm like, Biden, who loves abortion, and that whole party calls God a liar, that they say it's more than two sexes, and you can change your sex. And I just said, okay, all right, okay. And your definition, I'm not a Christian because I didn't vote for, the dark side.
Okay, so that's a perfect segue because as you know, Mr. Biden was caught on video expressing his love for black people, and you conservatives were taking him out of context. So I'm going to show the video, and then you, the aficionado that you are, you are going to tell me why You conservative keeps taking this Joe Biden fella out of context. Let me play the clip for our viewers. Here we go.
You'll be pleased to see there'll be more African Americans in major positions within a cabinet in major spots and more Hispanics in major spots than ever in American history. That's going to happen. I promise you that. And the other thing is, for example, thus far, for example, when we went ahead and we made sure that, I have as, the Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen, but at number 2 is Wally Adeyemo, an African American, who is the number 2 guy with real authority at that department. Look underneath just what we're doing in addition to the people we've already named. You're going to see people. Look, and, Cecilia Rouse, Cece, she is a significant player. That's a serious position. But it's like when I named her, well, I don't know if that counts. I'm not so sure. Well, if it doesn't count for y'all, well, the hell with y'all. But because...
Well, if it doesn't count for y'all, to Hades with y'all. Now, you conservatives, that's not racist. Because had Trump said the exact same thing, it wouldn't have been a big deal, right?
Oh, give me a break. But you know what? I think he's a victim of, how when they say you cyberbully, you say things that you normally wouldn't say because you get behind your computer. I think if that was an in-person meeting, I don't think he would have looked across the table and said that to a bunch of black women who would have been like, let me take off my earrings. What'd you just say? I mean, he knew that he was safe and nobody was going to come and get him wherever he was broadcasting from.
They were there. None of them said a word.
No, they didn't react anyway. They just seemed, and if anybody else had said those words, that would be totally unacceptable. We would have had another 90 days of burning down cities and Maine and downtowns. They would have said, if Trump had said that, they wouldn't have known what to do with it. Their heads would have literally exploded. Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. And so it seems to me, conservatives, we always say that they take advantage of the black vote. They every 4 years come around and give you a speech at the church, and like Hillary, she's got hot sauce in her purse, and they pander. And if they're local, they make sure your snow gets shoveled and you get a new garbage can, and then they forget about you. So now this is on the other side of the election. He should have had that meeting before the election. I don't know if he would have said those exact same words, but he's like, I already got your vote now. Like, what you going to do, kind of thing. And
that's right. But let me ask you this: why Sharpton was one, Kamala Harris was right next to him as the VP? Tell me why. Stephanie obviously wasn't racist because nobody in that Zoom room said a word.
And they're official. They're all civil rights leaders and activists of wide spectrum, and they are professionals. So if it were racist, their little meter would have gone off, and they would have known that it was racist. They wouldn't have said that. To me, Democrats are always looking for Republicans to be racist. They're just looking for a Republican not to say good morning and, you must be racist, instead, I didn't notice you or something. But they don't mind when Democrats mistreat them. They don't mind when Democrats.
I don't get that.
They relish in it. They don't. When you ask them a simple question,
they relish in it. They relish in white Democrats saying to Hades with you if you disagree with me.
And as long as I get this a lot. Do you think Trump cares about you? And the Democrats love to talk about how much their candidates or elected officials care about me. My family and my loved ones care about me. I want you to do your job. And what gets me is that. That's okay. When you ask them a simple question, it's something I'm passionate about, and that's having an opportunity to go to a great school. You and I live in the suburbs, and our kids are very blessed, and we make choices for our kids to get good education. But in Chicago, you're poor and you're restricted to going to school in your failing zip code. And why won't they support school choice? And if you ask a Democrat that, and they won't even, especially black Democrats in Chicago, where 1 in 4 children attend a failing school, they won't give you an answer. They just make up an excuse. And we know the answer is that, teachers are wonderful people, but teachers' unions are greedy. And so they don't want you to have school choice. They don't want you to have an option to send your kids to someplace other than, because in the schools, those failing schools, nobody would be in them. They'd be empty, and then you wouldn't have, you know what I mean? They would have to either improve their game or they would shut their doors. And so simple things like that. Why won't white Democrats support little black kids going to quality school?
And that's one question. Here's a more, how can I say it, problematic question. Why do blacks continue to support whites in the Democratic Party? that refuses to do that, even that to support the one thing that I believe 98 to 99% of the black community all wanted, that school choice, what you're saying. Yeah. But they won't support it. But blacks take it. Blacks take it. Not only did they take that, when Biden sit up there and says, well, for what I'm doing isn't enough for you guys, because I appointed this lady, but it's not enough for y'all. But you know what? If you don't like it, the Hades with you. And none of them flinched.
Didn't even, like, they just accept a certain level of racism from the Democrats.
Wow.
It's just like, because maybe it's this, Pastor, it's just that they think the Republicans are so horrible that I'll put up with this because, that other side is just, who knows what they would do to me. What changed me from a never Trumper to getting on the Trump train, in one day I went to a protest where they were protesting him in Bolingbrook because he was a candidate and he wasn't allowed to run for president. And I read a sign from a lady my age, and it said, if Trump wins, we're going back to Africa. And I just thought, this lady looks like she's my age and pretty intelligent, probably drove herself here, and she honestly thinks that Trump has the power to send us back to Africa. And so that's what, that fear to keep them on that plantation, that white Republicans are just rich white men that don't care about you. And so they'd rather just, what's that expression, go with the devil you know, opposed to the devil you don't know. So they're afraid of Republicans.
Better the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
Exactly. So that's what, maybe that's the motivation for them continuously. But we know the good news is that more blacks voted for him this time.
But again, let me show you the second clip.
Okay.
Speaking about the devil you know, let me show you the next clip. And again, I want people to watch. And let me put this in context. There was a guy that leaked some video, audio. There was a pastor in the area who said some very, how can I say this, non-Christian things. And it was leaked to the public, and then it later came out that there were several people in the room. And yet when he said this thing that was very unchristian, you heard a pin drop. Nobody reacted. Nobody said anything. And what I said was, what does that tell you? If you say, Stephanie, if we are in a room and I stand up in a room for the people, and I say, you know what? Let's go get our guns and go rob the bank. Now, if I said that in a group of people that know me, what would I say?
Right.
James, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Wait,
that's not in your character. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
oh my goodness. That's not like you.
Exactly.
That's not like you.
It's out of your character. But but the fact that the pastor said this and nobody said a word, what does that tell you? He had done it before.
Who he is. Right, and that was no surprise to them.
It wasn't out of character. Yep. They knew who he was.
They're like, okay.
Took it in stride because he had said things like this before. They weren't shocked. Now watch this clip with next to be President Biden. Watch this, and better yet, watch the reaction to the pro-black people in the Zoom room. Watch.
I don't always get it right, but I always take responsibility. When I get it wrong, I acknowledge I got it wrong. But my overarching objective, if we cannot make significant progress on racial equity, this country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European.
This country is doomed. It is doomed. Not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European, and you guys are going to have to work more with Hispanics. Nobody batted an eye. Nobody said a word. Nobody flinched. Why?
Like that was the description, his description of what darkness and mayhem and just the worst of times are coming, because white men won't be in charge anymore.
Yes, and we have to get rid of this. We got to solve this racial equality thing. Why the white man is in charge? Because this country is doomed. Because by 2040, the white man's not going to be in charge, and you blackies are going to have to deal with Hispanics. Because once we in the minority, you blackies can't do nothing on your own.
Right.
It's unbelievable to me.
And that not only did the people in the room not flinch an eye or bat an eye or even blink, but where's the media in this? Where's the black newspapers and all these people that are just so quick to say that Trump is racist because he did, whatever, but they just give him a pass and just they're just so happy, I guess, their candidates in. They're going to accept it. And you got someone that's been doing this as long as Al Sharpton's sitting there and not even reacting to it. I'm like, I didn't know half of those other people, but I know who he is. And I'm like, what the heck? So this is just his description of just, dark days that, white people going to be the minorities. And you got to learn. He knows that we need to learn how to work with the Hispanics because they're letting them all in, over the border which disproportionately affects unskilled black workers and the resources in our community. I hate to use that word resource because Democrats overuse it, but, and so we're going to have to, I guess we got to all learn how to speak Spanish so we can deal with the Hispanic coalition, I guess. And
I, let me tell you this. I've worked with the dementia population. Mm-hmm. When the reason someone is struggling with dementia, the early stages, is that the filter starts to slip.
There's no filter. It
starts to slip, and they forget. Mm-hmm. I'm not supposed to say that out loud.
Right. And what did he say before the election? We have the best fraud team.
Voter fraud. We've established the best voter fraud. Yeah, you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say that. And that's on Jill. I don't know if she was getting her hair done that day, but she knows she's supposed to be sitting next to him in all public speaking opportunities because he just forget what office he's running for. He thought he was running for Senate in one event. So, Jill wasn't there to say, "Hey, Joe, you're on video. You can't talk the way we talk at the dinner table. Shh.
Right.
You can't tell blacks to Hades with them. You can't tell the blacks that when we become a minority, they in trouble because the blacks can't run the country. You know that." She forgot.
You know what? But seriously, Pastor, I think about what family member would see someone struggling like this, and put him in a position where he's. I mean, that's just not right. Let him retire as vice president for 8 years and that legacy. Why would you put him in a position where now he just looks like a feeble old man? And the people that voted for him, you hated Trump that much that you're willing to put your country in the hands of somebody that could get in a room with Russia and just say almost anything because they're firing back and forth at this negotiation, and he's just sitting there forgetting even why he's there. That's really sad. And I'm like, and then you think about Kamala. She couldn't get 2% of the vote. Black people had nothing to do with her. She dropped out of the race before she'd even get to one primary. I never heard anything nice about her, but the moment that a white man tapped her on the shoulder and said, "I want you," all of a sudden, AKAs and Howard alumni, we love our sister. And I'm like, let me go back on their timeline. I don't remember you guys saying 2 words about this woman.
And you can say whatever you want to say. If I'm in a Zoom call, a room with a white guy, I don't care where you call it, and the white guy tells me that dark days are ahead, this country is doomed because blacks are taking over.
Literally dark days.
Yeah, literally
black and brown people.
And figuratively. I'm not going to shut my mouth. And it begs the question. You black Democrats, oh my goodness, are you that well trained on the plantation? Really?
Really? I think about this a lot, Pastor. I just think the blacks that we have now, what would they have done back in the civil rights days? We'd still be riding in the back of the bus because they would have taken a check or just get sell out. They don't have the oomph to say no to the government and stand up. They just comply and okay, I got to wear a diaper mask or whatever, face diaper.
And remember,
they don't even try. Even
Stephanie,
the whole country. I mean,
we're called the sellouts.
Right.
They sit there and take that.
From
we're
Joe Biden.
The sellouts.
What's Joe Biden's record? I kept asking people all before the election, what has Joe Biden done for Black people? They give you no answer. His only answer, when you say, well, why are you voting for Joe Biden over Trump? You don't even have to say Trump. Oh, their answer always includes Trump because he's not Trump, because Trump is this and Trump is that. 47 years in the swamp, and you can't come up with one kind thing to say about this man, something that he's done that you want to repeat. And everything that you liked about him, maybe that was under Obama's administration, but when the man is telling stories about little Black kids rubbing the blonde hair on his leg in the pool, who let somebody like that run for president?
Exactly. I like it when little kids sit in my lap. Like that.
I'm just like, and you got all those pictures of him groping people and squeezing too long and a welcome kiss or something. I mean, all this, you go on YouTube, people have strung them all together. It's just alarming, but they just overlooked that. And they just said, we just want Joe. And I don't know what kind of deal they made with those other people that dropped out, because they had some decent folks running against them, but they all dropped out, and we were left with Joe.
It's amazing to me, and again, it's one signature efforts in legislation was a crime bill in 1994 in which he is on tape calling the inner city Blacks predators. That's his signature. But again, that's Joe Biden. Fine. But the Blacks,
that's not there. I'm disappointed.
That keeps swallowing it.
And they just think this is the best we can do. It's better than nothing, I guess.
I dare a Black Democrat call a Black Republican a sellout ever again. I'm going to save this video. Because the Blacks
before they wipe it away.
Yeah. Right. Oh no! I got it on my hard drive. I got it on my hard drive.
You got to back up everything.
I got to back up everything. And don't. Oh, if the Democrats ever call Black Republicans sellout, I'm going to play this. He basically told Blacks to hate is with you. They didn't flinch. He basically said the country was doomed because Blacks going to take over. Blacks and Hispanics didn't flinch. They're used to taking the abuse.
And as I said, absent from the room was Black Lives Matter, which they were upset about. And absent from the room, which I'm very shocked, is Jesse Jackson. And he is the premier. I guess he and Al have a contest who's the number one race pimp. But, and I'm just wondering, did he lose a couple steps that he's not thought of as the go-to guy you got to make a deal with Black people? I don't know. But this is interesting that they, just sat there just silent.
Kamala Harris sat there and didn't flinch. Don't get me on her. I might say something I shouldn't say, but okay.
I know.
I'm done.
I don't know.
Well, thank you, Stephanie.
Moving on.
Moving on. Hey, we're going to do another video that we're going to make exclusive to our website with Stephanie. If you have not joined our email list, please go there. It is for such a time as this .today, for such a time as this .today, and catch the second interview with Stephanie. Things that YouTube doesn't want us to discuss on their platform, we won't. And so, thank you, Stephanie. Stick around. We're going to do a second video. But to those of you out there on YouTube, thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
For such a time as this.